Hello and welcome to video A02 in this series about autodidactic learning objects. The A series focuses on technical details, and this video, A2, will discuss the use of rounding in GeoGebra. My name is Jonas Hall and I'm also known as the Mad Mathematician. So, you want to round something. Somehow you've produced a number like 3/7, and this is a long number. You can set the number of displayed decimals to something like 15 decimals if you want to, or you can set them in the settings to just 2 decimals. But if I now produce another number, let's say b equals 0.43, they look the same, but if I actually test if a equals b, it's not so. It's false. They're not the same because 3/7 is not the same as 0.43. So in some cases you need to round numbers so that you get things that are exactly the rounded value, because this setting just is for show. It doesn't affect the underlying object. Right, so how do you round numbers? Well, let's begin with showing a bit more decimals. We can now see that they're not the same. Rounding is performed in GeoGebra with a command called round. So if I say round brackets, that will produce a rounded value or whatever I put in the brackets. So if I say round a, I get a new number which is 0. Because the thing with the round command is it always rounds to the nearest integer. You may not think that is very intelligent, but it is sufficient if you are intelligent enough. How would I do a rounding to, let's say, 3 decimal places? Well, I would do something like this. I would use the command round on 1000 times the value of a, and then that would produce something like 429, and then I divide that by 1000. So this way we can actually produce rounded values to any decimal number. Fact is, if I produce a slider, an integer slider, and go in and change the definition of that so that instead of 1000 I have 10 to the power of n, and I've got to insert a space there to allow it to multiply, and then divide it, and I better put brackets for safety, to 10 to the power of n, something like that. I can now use the slider and produce any number of digits, any number of decimals I want. If I set this for 15 decimals again, I can certainly produce any number I want, like this. If you want to round something to larger values, you have to allow this to go to negative numbers. So go into the properties and allow it to go to, let's say, minus 5. Now obviously that doesn't really help for this particular number, because I just hit 0 for any of those. But if I had a larger number, this is based on the number A, so let's just say that A is actually something like 76,354 point all the rest. I can now allow this to go to negative values, and I round to thousands, for instance. And that basically is how you use rounding in GeoGebra. You don't have to use the slider. You can produce this result by doing something like round, and then instead of saying 1000A, you can say A divided by 1000, and you can multiply the result by 1000. That will also produce something that is rounded to thousands. And that concludes the video about rounding in GeoGebra. Thank you.